From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your evening update.
Good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Mike Krueger here. Well, starting tomorrow, we got a spike in our temperatures, something we've been talking about the last few days. Not quite 100 degrees in the valley, but it will be close for some of us. I do expect dry conditions for most of us through the weekend, which we'll get into that a little bit later. Significantly cooler next week, and we're talking big-time drop in our temperatures with rain, most likely Monday, Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday. So a lot to talk about in our deeper dive forecast, but before we get to that, for those of you that just want a quick look at the forecast, here you go. Krueger's Quickcast for your Thursday, 25th. September 25th, that is. There you can see tonight we're dropping down to the low to even mid-60s for the valley, 40s, 50s for the higher elevations, and looks like some low 50s out along the coast. Now, taking a look at your forecast for tomorrow morning, what you'll notice, look at the temperature for the valley, 70. We've got some winds kicking in tomorrow morning and really through the day. This is going to elevate our fire weather risk, but it's also going to increase those temperatures for the overnight. But elsewhere, generally in the 50s for the higher elevations. So the low pressure system is moving on out of here. So any clouds or even rain that we did see, that's out of here. And, that's going to be moving on out. So as we take you through tonight, tomorrow, maybe a little patchy fog around Humboldt Bay, south of that on Highway 101 corridor. But otherwise, it's a sunny start to the day, even for many of you along the coast. Friday, absolutely gorgeous. Friday night, though, yeah, all right, we may start to see some fog developing around Humboldt Bay again. So for tomorrow, yeah, another hot day, but not quite 100 for the valley, mid to upper 90s. 80s, and even some 90s for some of the higher elevations, in particular Trinity County and inland areas, and mid to upper 60s for the coast. 7-day forecast, again, you can see the spike in our temperatures for tomorrow, but then by Saturday, Sunday, temperatures start to drop, and we're seeing that big drop in our temperatures. Look at that, upper 60s to low 70s for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, I think most of the rain for everyone, all of Northern California, will be Monday and Tuesday. I'm keeping the chance in there for Wednesday because there is some inconsistencies in the long range that kind of keep it lingering into Wednesday. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But for Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, especially Lass and Plumas counties, maybe as early as Sunday. We'll see. But again, it's mainly Monday, Tuesday that we got that best chance for that rain. All right, let's take a look at our fire weather forecast, sponsored by Garmin's Tractor Service. Again, there you see, tomorrow morning. We're already starting the day tomorrow with some gusty north winds. So we need to be aware of that. 25, 30 miles per hour. That's when we really need to start saying, okay, this is a little unusual. We typically have been seeing throughout the summer 15, 20 miles an hour. But when we get in that 25 over 30 mile an hour range, that's when we can start saying, all right, we need to be concerned about this. Because there you can see midday Friday still gusty. And then Friday afternoon, the winds start to subside, but still a little breezy out there. And then Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, it looks like those winds will be a bit calmer. However, they'll be from the south Saturday afternoon, a little breezy. But again, this is kind of that not so unusual type of situation, but we still need to be aware. All right, so your fire weather risk for tomorrow morning already well within the moderate. When you get in that bright orange, bright yellow into the orange, that's moderate to barely getting to the high. But then by late morning, midday, now we're in that high range. And the numbers indicate relative humidity numbers. All right, so that is single digits for relative humidity, mid to upper 90s for your highs. It's hot, and it's gusty north winds. High fire danger. Let's be extra careful tomorrow. I don't want to hear about any new fires tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. I don't want to hear about it. I want everyone to be careful, okay? And then we go into Saturday, yeah, much better when we're talking about that fire weather risk. All right, here's your deeper dive forecast. This is when we really dive into it. And in particular, we're really going to be talking about next week's rain and the potential and all that good stuff. So let's get you right into it. So this is the low pressure system that was impacting us today. It gave some of us some clouds and even a little bit of rain. That's moving down to the south and east, and that's moving on out. As a result, we'll be looking at mainly clear skies. Now, there may be some patchy fog around Humboldt Bay tonight, tomorrow morning. You see even along the Highway 101 corridor. But that's the only place we can find a cloud. Elsewhere, it's clear skies. Through Friday, sunny skies, even for the coast. Okay, but then by Friday night, Saturday morning, there's some fog coming in. Now, it looks like we're going to see that marine layer really return Saturday morning and may stick around through the day on Saturday. Now, this I'm not terribly concerned about, but what this is telling me, because I've been seeing this in the model, is that Sunday, Modoc, Eastern Lassen, Eastern Plumas could see a chance for a shower or thunderstorm on Sunday. So this tells me there may be enough moisture for that to happen on Sunday, maybe even as early as Saturday. But as of right now, I'm not terribly concerned about it. That's through Saturday, by the way. Now, let's take a look at the long range, bigger picture, starting with today. There's that area of low pressure that started this morning, but you get the idea. It's moving down to the south and east. High pressure building in Friday, then temperatures start to slowly drop. Cooler air with this trough of low pressure right here. But there are two main, we'll call them cold fronts, but bands of rain. This first one right here, that's what's coming in on Monday. See that? There it is. There's Monday. Now behind it, this is the one coming in on Tuesday. We got the swirling area of low pressure, the cold front, and it looks like Tuesday's system may pack a little bit of a bigger punch when we're talking the amount of rainfall we could see out of it. And by the way, maybe even some isolated thunderstorms, especially in the mountains. Now this is where things, it depends on which model you look at. This could linger on into Wednesday. So I'm keeping that chance in there for Wednesday, but I think the main event at this point looks to be Monday, Tuesday. And then Wednesday, the chances start to diminish. This right here is going to fizzle out because high pressure is going to be building in toward the end of next week, and it's going to ride up and over that ridge, and as a result, we stay dry. Wetter than normal conditions in the long range, certainly agree with that when we take a look at the Climate Prediction Center. There is relief in sight, though, from the heat. Not yet, though, because tomorrow, we've got that ridge building in, but then that starts to break down as this cooler air just slowly migrates. Temperatures dropping over the next several days after Friday. Then the peak of that cooling will be on Tuesday. That's when we expect some upper 60s in the valley. Then by Wednesday, that cooler air retreats back up to the north and east. You see how we have a little bit of ridging here? That's why that rain that you saw there for Wednesday, as it approaches, it will pretty much die out by the time it gets here. So looking at that trend, there it is. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the coolest, and then temperatures start to tick back up. But they'll level out by the end of next week into that next weekend in the low to mid 80s, staying below normal for this time of the year. I don't think I hear anybody complaining about that. The wave heights are still going to be a bit of an issue here for your Friday. Most likely some more small craft advisories. And then on Saturday, we'll start to see those waves retreat a little bit, but maybe going back up again on Sunday. All right, so here is your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. Basically low 90s for Trinity County, dry through Sunday, and then by Monday, Tuesday, the main event. And this is really across the board, folks. It's going to be Monday, Tuesday. Everyone has the best chance for rain. On either side of that, those chances are going to be much slimmer. All right, so there you can see your Dignity Health North Coast neighborhood forecast for tomorrow. I'd say some mid to upper 60s for the coast, and looks like low to mid 90s for the inland areas, 88 degrees out towards Gas Key and 94 degrees for Orleans. Let's take a look at your Dignity Health Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, mainly in the 80s and 90s, although some of the higher elevations mid to upper 70s for your daytime highs for your Friday, and of course that rain coming in especially Monday and Tuesday. Modoc County, as early as Sunday, I've got that chance in there for you, but mainly Monday, Tuesday, and then maybe lingering on Wednesday. You'll also notice the cooler temperatures even for the mountains. Now, in the eastern mountains, you've got 80 degrees for Westwood, but a bit warmer in Paradise at 91. And there you can see 79 degrees out towards Viola. All right, let's go and take a look at your Dignity Health Valley neighborhood forecast to the south. Temperatures, not changing. They're going to be a bit warmer here, actually. Mid-90s, 96 for Los Molinos, 95 for Durham, and even the valley seeing that chance for rain come Monday and Tuesday. There's your 7-day forecast for Chico, down to 68 on Tuesday. Temperatures slowly increasing after that. All right, let's go ahead and take you up to the north end of the valley. And we've got those temperatures in the upper 90s, 98 degrees for Redding, as well as Anderson, Red Bluff, about 97 degrees. And let's take a look at that 7-day forecast for Redding. And there it is. There's that spike tomorrow, but then temperatures slowly dropping through the weekend, down to 70 on Monday, 68 on Tuesday, and then slowly increasing after that. But it's Monday, Tuesday. That's the best chance for rain, maybe lingering into Wednesday before drying out entirely by the end of next week. That's your evening update. I'll be back again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and live on Coffee with Krueger at 6:30. Until then, have a great night.